Let's invite GFI software. So, Joseph, hi.
Hi,
You hear
Nebojša.
us? Ah,
Hello, everyone.
hi, great hearing you. So, GFI software, growing MSP business with GFI software. Joseph Kachala, VP of Global Sales Engineering. Really nice having you today, Joseph, for your time and effort. And stage is
Th-
yours.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me and for arranging this conference or this session. So let me share the screen.
Nice picture. Where is taken?
Ah, I think Santorini, or yeah, probably Santorini in Greece. Yeah,
Oh. Before or
quite
after?
older.
It's obviously before those unhappy incidents with the fire. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a long time ago. Yeah, but for some reason I didn't change the profile picture. I guess I'm too lazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, so the topic of my presentation is to grow MSP business with GFI. So let's have a short look on the agenda. So I'll just speak very briefly about the MSP focus, which we have in the company. I will explain why we even have it or where we started to have it. Then we will cover briefly the GFI MSP offering. So basically, what products are MSPs using? I will try to also add some examples so you can understand how other people, other partners across the globe are making money with our products and their service offerings. And we'll be finishing the presentation with the GFI Ad Manager, which is basically gluing all the information together, which I would be sharing with you through the presentation. And it's a logical addition into our MSP approach. So regarding the MSP approach, those of you who are, let's say, familiar with GFI or GFI software and things which we are doing or we have been doing, then you probably know that we are not, or we have not been fully engaged with the MSP partners. There have been things which we changed, obviously, and the main driver why we even changed it is because we realized that a lot of our partners, our existing partners, are already MSPs. They are already using our products to deliver their services. And simply we wanted to move towards our partners and to enable them to do the business better, maybe more comfortably, and with reducing the risk. So we are here to help to all of those partners of ours who are already acting as an MSPs or are thinking that will be MSPs one day or that will be transitioning, because that's exactly the trend which we are seeing in our own channel. That people are starting as resellers, then they are merging or transforming into value-added resellers, and eventually they are becoming an MSPs, which is a very logical thing, right? Because you want to make more money, you want to have more stable income, etc., etc. And the MSP type of business is basically enabling you to do it. So again, we are here to help, and actually, we already are. And I would say the first start where we introduce ourselves into our own channel as well as an MSP vendor or vendor who can enable MSPs to deliver services was in the start of this year on a conference, MSP Expo in Miami, where we have been the platinum sponsor. So this was the first start, the official start to announce ourselves into the channel. After that, we also have been recognized as the MSP Innovation Awards Europe for the Best Partner Program. And those are marketing things, right? So you are not interested in those, I'm sure, but they just amplify what I'm trying to say over here, that GFI is moving full speed ahead to support the MSP partners. From the product perspective, the Carrio, which eventually was acquired by GFI previously, was an independent company. And in 2015, Carrier started with MSP offering for Carrier Connect, which was simply called the SaaS licensing, which was a very bad name in the first place because SaaS means literally something else. It's not a type of billing. So this was changed, and now we are calling it Carrier Connect for MSPs. So this was the start. After that, after we announced ourselves that we will be focused on the MSPs as well and helping them, then with help of my colleague Lenka, we started with the GFI Carrier Control for MSPs, which we will also be covering later on to the slide. So I will explain what it actually is. And and now you can take the advantage of this offering. Then we announced the GFI App Manager, which we'll also be covering at the end of the presentation, MSP Partner Program, and then starting the implementation of other products into GFI Manager. And eventually we also launched GFI Lengard for MSPs. So it's not only marketing efforts which we are doing in the MSP space, but also real physical changes in the product portfolio or addition to the product portfolio. So to not be only talking about these things, let's jump directly into the products. So the first product is Carrier Connect. So Carrier Connect for MSPs. Just in the nutshell, those of you who are not familiar with the product, even when the product is on the market for pretty much 20 years, if I'm not mistaken. So Carrier Connect is an enterprise class mail server. It's doing exactly what you would expect a mail server to do. So obviously it has anti-spam, embedded antivirus, and multiple ways how you can connect to your mailbox, has a webmail, native client, support of different protocols, backupping system. So all these features which you would expect. I will not go very deeply into those features because it's a mail server. So I'm assuming that majority of you at some point saw a mail server, and pretty much I believe also majority of you even configured a mail server. What is actually good from the Carrier Connect perspective and the MSP perspective is that you can easily white label Carrier Connect. You can deploy wherever you want. So you can have deploy Carrier Connect on your data center, on your computer, or you can take advantage of some of the public clouds. It doesn't need to be necessarily Azure or AWS, so it doesn't need to be the big players. You can deploy it on smaller cloud vendors such as Ionos or Hetzner, where you can get even better pricing. I know it for a fact because a lot of our partners are actually using those and deploying Carrier Connect on the virtual machines in the cloud. When it comes to the virtual machine deployment, you can take advantage of wide support of operating systems, Linux, Mac, Windows, of course. So you can name probably a lot of mail servers which could be deployed on Windows. Probably you can name few which could be deployed on Linux, but 100% I'm sure that when I will say Mac, then you were probably able to name one mail server which could be deployed on Mac. I'm not saying that this is a majority of our customer base, but we all know it. There are specific customers who are just purely Apple. And from that perspective, they don't have a lot of options. So the deployment is actually enabling you a lot of freedom. And in MSP space, you need to have freedom because you need to tailor really your deployment or your offering with actually your consumers or who is going to use the service. Another thing which plays well when it comes to offering to MSPs is the multi-tenancy, even within the same product. So you can have a server, quite a powerful server or a VM, you can deploy Carrier Connect, you can add as many domains as you want, 100, 200 domains. It's easy, you don't pay for the domains at all, right? So you can have as many as you want, you pay, or the licensing is based on the mailboxes. So empty domain, no cost. Immediately after you add a user, a mailbox, that is something which is billable. You can also set up multiple access to those domains. So you can actually have a server, multiple customers, and you can decide if the customer has an ability to do something with their domain, or purely you are managing it, you are taking the money for it, and they are only consuming email as a service. Of course, Carrier Connect has a lot of monitoring capabilities and extensive API, which will enable you to, let's say, create your own, purely own, I don't know, webmail or email offering and have Carrier Connect as an engine in the backend and control everything with API. This is exactly the type of deployment which one of our biggest MSP partners from USA is doing, and he's quite successful because he has like 20,000 to 25,000 users, which is quite a lot. So from the deployment perspective, or from MSP deployment perspective, there are two main approaches MSPs are taking with use of Carrier Connect. The first one is that you, as an MSP, deploy the Carrier Connect. It could be, as mentioned, in your data center, your rack, your server, or somewhere in some sort of private or public cloud. In this case, you are offering email as a service, so you can have an individual mailbox, or you can provide a whole domain or a whole tenant, right? You are mostly managing the mail server, but the customer is managing their own tenant or just, consuming the service. The other type of deployment, which we see on the left side, is that the Carrier Connect is deployed at the premises of the customer, and you are managing it. You, as an MSP, you are setting up the alerting, the monitoring, you're doing all the changes, the updates, the backups. Everything is done by you, but the data sits with the customer, and that's exactly important, the data, right? Because we have a lot of customers who are skeptical who has access to the data, where the data are stored. There are a lot of these. I'm sure that you can name a few. So they are not comfortable if they don't have the ability to stand up from their desk, walk to the server room, and just unplug the hard drive with all the emails stored on it. So that's the other way how our MSPs, with use of Carrier Connect, are making their business, simply by managing Carrier Connect, right? So going into the pricing, so Carrier Connect for MSPs is a monthly subscription, which is based on the peak usage. So this means that if you have in January 30 mailboxes, you pay for 30 mailboxes. If you have in February 50, you pay for 50, right? So it's dynamic. So basically, pay as you go. The price per a single mailbox per month is 2.50 MSRP, right? This is the price basically for you, for the partner. If you're going to make your offering for €6 or €7, it's up to you, right? So this is, I would say, the cost of technology. So jumping to Carrier Control. So what I'm getting a lot is that people are confused. Carrier Control, Carrier Connect, like you have a red logo, it sounds very similar, etc., etc. So just to give you a hint, Carrier Connect is to connect people, so it's the mail server. Carrier Control is to control the traffic. It's the firewall or unified threat management. As a unified threat management, it has all these, I would say, expected features. So you can have intrusion prevention system, web filter, QoS, secured VPN, a lot of other things which I would not be mentioning because I'm sure that you are familiar. So one thing which we are trying to do with Carrier Control is to have a hardware agnostic solution. So this means that you'll have the deployment, the ISO file for Carrier Control, and you can purchase a hardware box or have a computer or build a computer and deploy Carrier Control on it. I will explain a little bit more in the later slides, but just to finish with what I started is the main reason why we did that is because 60% of all our deployments are actually running on custom hardware. So it's absolutely logical step for us to embrace this and support more those partners or those pioneers who want to really tailor their offering to meet exactly the expectation or the requirement of their customers. When it comes to the deployment scenarios of Carrier Control, again, two types. right? You deploy on premise with your customer, which we can see on the left side. The firewall is there. It provides the protection, and you as a partner are fully managing it. It makes a lot of sense because in SMB, especially in SMB, people don't have the needed knowledge or needed expertise, which pretty much we heard since the morning, going through Acronis and going through Enable. We pretty much all said the same thing. That's the point why MSPs are so successful, because customers doesn't have the expertise, the time, the knowledge, etc., etc. So with firewall, many times it was understood like, okay, I have a firewall, I as a customer need to manage, right? But now the MSPs are managing it. So they have a direct access through, I don't know, MyCarrier or App Manager or VPN, and they can manage the firewall. The second scenario, the deployment scenario, is that the MSP deploys the firewall at, again, their data center, their premises, or wherever they want. And in this case, the traffic is redirected through the firewall, which is doable. I would not do it personally, but it is doable. And I also see some customers having it in such way. But the most common use case on how to provide services is to have the VPN as a service. So you have the firewall somewhere deployed, and you use it as a gateway for the VPN connections for whoever pays for the VPN. So again, you can take the advantage of the advanced API capabilities Carrier Control is coming with, and that's it. There is also a third scenario which is not mentioned on this slide, and this is with the cloud vendors. So each time you are purchasing or acquiring a virtual machine or multiple virtual machines with the cloud provider, some cloud providers has an ability that you can, in your virtual environment, you can add a firewall. And that firewall is Carrier Control. So along with purchasing or acquiring virtual machines, it will automatically spin on a virtual machine of Carrier Control, which will basically be your gateway to your virtual environment. So we are integrated with several cloud providers, and you can find Carrier Control in their offering pretty much. When it comes to the licensing options, there are two licensing options when it comes to Carrier Control for MSPs. The first one is a standard without any antivirus, web filter, intrusion prevention system, and these kind of stuff. So it's purely a firewall with VPN capability, and exactly that VPN capability is something which people are providing as a service. So in that case, the MSRP is $2 for user, right? The minimum amount of users is 5, but it's $2 per user. And the reason why I stopped with user is simple. In Carrier Control, we understand user as a group of 5 devices. I will explain also on later slides, but this is a selling point, because in $2, 5 devices, this means that you can protect a laptop, a tablet, a cell phone, a workstation, and a server. 5 individual devices, and you pay $2 with the first licensing option. That is basically 40 cents for a protection for a device per month, right? That's, again, MSRP, so that's the price for you. But it's up to you if you're gonna sell this protection for $1, for €1, for €2 to the customer. It's absolutely up to you, because you are bundling it with your offering, with your capabilities, with your service. The second licensing option is with antivirus and web filter. So with all the add-ons or all the security features, and that's $275. Again, MSRP, and again, that's the price per user, where a user is a sum of or a group of 5 devices. So as mentioned previously, with Carrier Control and Carrier Connect, we are measuring, where is my mouse? We are measuring the peak usage, right? So always the peak usage will dictate how the billing will look like. If the peak usage was 50 users or 50 devices, you're going to pay for 50. If the peak usage was 20, you're paying for 20. So It's very transparent. You can always see the usage in the product, or you will be able to use or see the usage in GFI App Manager. Now, going back into the example of an offering and to why hardware agnostic and why it all makes sense. So I'll try to explain on this slide. So on the top, we can see basically a custom device. The cost is $150. You can potentially get it cheaper because this is from AliExpress, but you can contact the vendor directly and you can get it for $120, right? A box. I'm running the box, exactly the same one, for more than a year with no interruption. It just works perfectly. So you can buy an affordable box, you can deploy carrier control on it, and you can have this as a part of your MSP offering. Now, when it comes to the licensing, you will be using the pay-as-you-go or the monthly subscription, which I explained on the previous slide. For a standard small company, let's say a small shop or a restaurant or something like that, you might be expecting to have 40 users, right? 40 users from the license perspective. And as we mentioned previously, a user is a group of 5 devices. So you will pay for 4 users where you will have 20 devices. 20 devices, if you think about it, that's a decent small or micro company, right? An office, right? Or something like that. When it comes to the MSRP pricing, then basically these guys for 20 devices, which is 4 users, they will be paying $11, right? That's the cost of license for you. If you're gonna sell them the carrier control protection for 20, and you will bundle it with the cost of hardware, which if you count for 3 years, the expected lifetime of the hardware, that's $5.5 a month for hardware, right? Plus $11, which is the MSRP for the license. If you cut down the margin, so basically what you as a partner will need to pay, that's $9 per month. So combined, you have like $14 and $50 per month for protection for 20 devices, right? So if you think about it, you are paying more money for your cell phone than you would be paying for, as a customer, for a firewall, a full protection for 20 devices, which could be easily 20 individual employees if you want to. So that's the idea, and the sky's the limit. So you can easily just add your margin. So you can add, I don't know, 67% margin. So you can charge them $25 a month, right? So again, it's cheaper than a cell phone service. And the sky's is the limit, as mentioned, and you can bundle it with alerting, SLAs. You can add the threat monitoring, technical support. You can add the hardware replacement or an RMA, overnight RMA, which should not be a huge problem because that device, $120, you can purchase at least one to have it on the shelf and to be ready to be replaced each time some device will fail. So that's the idea. That's the reason why we are going hardware agnostic. And that example is exactly telling you what are our partners doing, right? So purchasing affordable devices and providing services or providing solutions to small companies which simply don't have the money to upfront purchase a firewall which will cost $1,000 or $800, right? They don't have the budget, they don't have the money, but they can easily find 30 or $50 a month to have the security they need. Because as was also mentioned on previous presentations, everyone will get eventually attacked, right? The question is if you have any security measures, because in SMBs, if you are thinking about security, then there is not much. So, and the reason is because the budget. So moving on, the monitoring is based on our survey. Monitoring is one of the main MSP service which MSPs are offering. And as Andre mentioned during the Enable presentation, monitoring is also the needed one, right? Because if you are managing someone, you need to be able to monitor what's going on. So it's not only the service you're offering, but also necessity, which you need to have in order to deliver. So in the GFI portfolio, we have quite a few products which are able to monitor from different perspectives. So carrier control, which we talked about, it's all about the network. It can monitor the network and stuff like that. Exinda and Clearview are also about the network monitoring. So applications, evaluation of applications, application control, what application is being used, when it is being used, which user, which host. It gives you the full picture of what's going on in the network from the communication perspective. And there is Langard, GFI Langard. This is telling you a different story. It's telling you the story of how vulnerable your endpoints are. And when it comes to vulnerabilities, it's exactly the same approach as with security. It's not a question if, it's the question when you will be attacked. And exactly the same question is with vulnerabilities. Every systems are vulnerable. They always will be vulnerable. The question is when the vulnerability will be discovered. So with Langard, we recently, I think a month ago or a month and a half, we launched another licensing model called Langard for MSPs. And I believe that this licensing model will be extremely successful because it's enabling the MSPs to grow and to offer a really nice service for a huge added value, but the entry cost is very low. So I will explain on a separate slides in a moment. But now let's speak what GFI Langard actually is. So GFI Langard is a tool which will assess vulnerabilities present on operating systems. We support different flavors of Linux. We support Windows. We support Mac. Also, it will assess the vulnerabilities on third-party applications and hardware devices such as routers, firewall, access points, printers, and these kind of things, which are existing in the environment. Besides of identifying vulnerabilities, it will identify patches, both deployed patches and also missing patches. Again, from the patch perspective, we can patch third-party applications, Windows machines, Linux machines, and Mac operating systems. From the Linux perspective, we support Ubuntu, CentOS, Debian, SUSE, OpenSUSE, Fedora, and Oracle. Yeah, Oracle Linux. So we can deploy the missing patches, not only see the vulnerability, but also fix the vulnerability. Besides of that, it has a software audit and hardware audit, so it can tell you about all the applications which are deployed, all hardware components which are present, and of course, it can very nice deliver the cybersecurity audit. With the hardware audit, I will maybe say one example which was covered in UK, and that was a data leakage, a physical data leakage on which a lot of software will not, well, there is no software which can provide you security for that. So what happened is that an employee unplugged the hard drive and literally took the hard drive with him. It was a secondary hard drive. So from the monitoring perspective, I mean, from multiple other products monitoring perspective, the device, the computer was just rebooted, right? Because it went offline and then it came back online, right? The secondary hard drive was storing the data, not the operating system. And exactly that secondary hard drive was unplugged by the employee. GFI Langard was able to spot on because of the hardware audit. Simply it flagged that, hey, there is one disk available on the computer before, literally hour before there were like 2 disks available. So that was the reason why the company was able to spot on this misbehavior of an employee. And as mentioned previously, with such physical data leakage, it's very hard to stop it or to prevent it. You can only somehow monitor it, but even that could be challenging. So GFI Langard, as from the cybersecurity audit perspective, it's gathering a huge amount of information, right? This is on this slide is just a hint of what is able to gather, like running services, running processes, categorization of operating system vulnerabilities, missing patches, deployed patches, deployed operating systems and versions, password policies, open TCP UDP ports, or what is running behind those TCP and UDP ports, and a lot more. I will not spend a lot of time to going through the individual points. But the LangGuard gathers a lot of information. Just let's remember this slide, as we will be coming back to that slide in a moment. But before we'll do so, let me explain how this licensing actually works. So this licensing is working with the, we call it paper scan, because that's effectively what it is. So paper scan means that you will have a license, for example, the first license. This license enables you to manage up to 25 nodes. By manage, I mean that you can scan it. But we don't honestly care if you're going to scan 25 nodes or you're going to scan 15 or 16 nodes. It's purely up to you. But each time you're triggering a scan with use of this license, which enables you 25 nodes, we're going to charge you $20 MSRP. So again, it's an MSRP, so you need to then take out the margin and you will be seeing what's the price for you as a partner. So you scan the computers, you pay the price, right? You as an MSP, you can have all those licenses just on the shelf, sitting, and be prepared to be used. So each time you have a customer, for example, a customer with 100 nodes, you're going to take out the 100 node license. You're going to scan the customer, all 100 nodes. You're going to pay MSRP $80, right? So this is the idea. Now, what you can actually do with it. So you can have multiple customers, customer A, customer B, and customer C. You can have the LangGuard deployment with those customers if you want to, or you can have a virtual machine on your laptop, right? You can have you can come, or you can have the LangGuard deployed directly in your laptop. You can come to the customer A. In the product, you will add the license with 25 nodes. You scan the customer A, you pay $20. Then with the same laptop, you go to the second customer, you again scan the second customer with 45 nodes, with 50 node license, and you pay $40, right? And so on and so on. So in total, you can scan with these three customers 175 nodes, which in total will be $140. And when you count it, it's $0.8 MSRP per node. So this is basically the cost of the service which you need to pay. But you can bundle it with your service because your expertise, right? You'll tell the customer, okay, you're going to produce the reports because LangGuard has a report capability. LangGuard can patch the vulnerabilities as mentioned previously, and the patch is not cost. There is no cost associated with patching, only with scanning. So you reveal the missing patches. That is for what you are going to pay. But when you deploy the patches, it's absolutely up to you. So you can tailor your offering saying that, hey, Mr. Customer, I'm going to do an audit for you. So I'm going to reveal all that information. I'm going to provide you a report. I'm going to fix the vulnerabilities. I'm going to patch your system. And you're going to pay me, I don't know, $200 for 50 computers, right? As we saw on the previous slide, the cost for you is MSRP $40 for 50 nodes. So that's the idea. As I said, it's quite affordable, and you can tailor it with multiple other functions, even within the LangGuard, for which you don't need to pay, which are included. Plus, it's your expertise, it's your management, etc., etc. One of the things which we see the partners are using this licensing approach already is to gather that information, which we can see over here, and they will go beyond the product functionalities. So they will use the product, but they will use the information in a different way. In this case, I have in mind NIS2. So NIS2, as a new regulation from European Union, is going to be applied on huge amount of industries. Some of those industries will need to basically have the patch management, will need to have the vulnerability assessment, but they might not have the money to purchase. And if they don't have the money or the expertise or the knowledge, etc., that is exactly the place for the MSP partner to use the LangGuard for MSP licensing model to provide an affordable service for the customer. So the customer will be compliant and you will be making money with delivering the service. So from the other perspective, the requirement of NIS2 is to, for example, have the staff security access control policies, basic cybersecurity hygiene practices, security-related purchasing and vulnerability management, and this kind of stuff. I'm not going to read all the text over here on the slide because we're just going to lose a lot of time. But in the nutshell, with use of GFI Landguard, you can address basically four main points out of this list, out of these requirements, mainly coming from the management perspective, measurement the risk, measurement the vulnerabilities, patch deployment, etc., etc. So that's one of the idea which our partners have, and they are already providing this to different companies across the Europe, using pretty much the scarecrow which NIS2 is, because as you can see over here, NIS2 is going to cover a lot of industries, going from healthcare, waste management, food production, processing and distribution, etc., etc. When you look at those industries, then I'm sure that you will think, okay, the banking and financial markets, they will not use the service. They already have patch management. They already have vulnerability assessment, which is very likely true. And I mean, it is true because I know a lot of our customers actually are from these sectors. But on the right side, you can see the important entities. And in important entities, you will be able to find a lot of small customers, small players with 50 employees, with 10 million revenue, which simply might not have the budget or the expertise, etc. And those could be exactly the consumers of such a service. All right, so that's for the Landguard. So now let's jump to GFI Clearview, which is one of our also newer addition to the portfolio. The reason why I'm mentioning Clearview is exactly because of monitoring aspect of the MSP. So with Clearview, you can evaluate the performance of the service, you can evaluate the performance of applications being used. Sorry about that. So you can evaluate stuff, you can see, you can recognize thousands of applications. You can recognize network patterns. You can basically have the full picture. That's what Clearview is all about. Clearview is coming in the form of a virtual machine. That virtual machine could be deployed again in the MSP if you want to, and you can monitor your own services which you are offering to your customers, or it could be deployed at the customer side, so at the SMB partner, and it can monitor the network over there. So again, it provides reporting capabilities and all this other stuff, plus alerting. So we can have early warning each time something bad is happening in the infrastructure of the customer. When it comes to the pricing of the Clearview, so the pricing is starting from 250 nodes, where the MSRP is roughly $700, going to 500 nodes with pricing of $1,000 a year. And the last one is above 500 nodes, where the pricing is basically $1,300. So again, the pricing is quite affordable for the amount of managed nodes, and it really provides an extensive information. Unfortunately, I won't have enough time to go and demo this, as we have pretty much 8 minutes left. But in case that you are interested into knowing or seeing Clearview, that just let me know or let know Nebojša or Lenka, and I'm more than happy to jump on a call and show you the full demo or provide you a trial or an NFR. And that applies for all the products, of course, not only for Clearview, but Clearview really has a lot of things to show and a lot of things to demonstrate. Now, to proceed with my outline agenda in the beginning, I need to jump into the GFI Manager, which basically gives more sense to all of what I have mentioned so far. So one of the things which MSPs are facing is sometimes issue with productivity and efficiency. The reason why is too many products, right? Even now on this conference or on this session, there are 3 different vendors, right? All vendors have different offering, different solutions, etc., etc. So even if you're going to take, and that's very expected as an MSP partner or even as a customer, it's very expected that you will be using products coming from multiple vendors, because there is no vendor on the planet who is offering everything, going from the endpoint protection, antivirus, going to EDR, XDR, mail server, mail gateway, firewall, backuping system, you name it. All these things which I mentioned are products which are used in environments, right? But there is no single console for them, for those products. And this is impacting the productivity and efficiency. What we are trying to do with the GFI Manager is to not have GFI Manager only for our own products, Carrier Control, Archiver, Carrier Connect, Clearview, etc., etc. But we want to have GFI Manager an open platform for which will eventually serve as a go-to application for everything. So not only GFI products, but for example, you can add a Sophos firewall if you want to, or you can add FortiGate firewall or ASET and endpoint protection. So it's up to you. So you want to have one interface which will be serving the MSP partners, from which you will be able to control or integrate other solutions. Because we understand that simply one vendor will not be enough. And in current threat landscape, it even should not be enough, right? So you should not be focusing, okay, I have only an antivirus from these guys, and at the same time I have a firewall from these guys. That's not enough. You need to go beyond, because the threat landscape is always evolving. We have the AI, as was also mentioned previously, and that's going to introduce a lot more attack vectors which we didn't recognize yet. And for that perspective, we need to be open-minded, and that's exactly why we are taking this approach. It's the approach to support the MSP partner. It's the approach to support the customer. GFI Manager, in a nutshell, is going to deliver, or already is delivering, features, ease of use, and innovation. There's multiple stuff like alerting, where you can really go granular into choosing what product, what statistics, what metric, what value assigned to different tenants, to different users, to different products. So alerting could be very granular, and it's essential. It's essential to have an alerting capabilities, and of course in use if you are offering your services. Monitoring capabilities, again, in GFI Manager, again, it should be product or vendor independent. Of course, it depends on what kind of metric or what kind of values those products are outputting. But in general, you should definitely be able to gather something. So on the screen, you can just see a hint on what kind of monitoring you can actually get. This is from Carrier Control, just a few examples. And as mentioned previously, when it comes to the licensing model in App Manager, it's fully transparent. So you can exactly know what amount of devices currently you have, what was the peak usage of devices in a specific time period, for example, last month. So you'll exactly know what the billing is going to look like. So it's fully transparent. And on part of the GFI App Manager, on top of the support of the products, on top of being able to add other things in it, is Radar. So Radar is our XDR solution. The main idea currently is that it will gather events, it will gather statistics, history, metric, etc., etc. There is an AI which will be in the backend spotting an anomaly or trying to detect a threat or anomaly detection. And each time something like this will be detected, then it will trigger an alert at the triage dashboard and a reaction. Of course, the reaction can vary because the radar will take advantage of the cross-product combination. So in case that you have a malicious actor already in your network, and you are, for example, at the same time using carrier control, then the radar can trigger basically a kill command to kill the ongoing connection to the malicious actor or compromised endpoint in your network. It can isolate the network with use of the firewall, etc., etc. So radar will amplify how our products could play together. And a good example could be a misuse of an email. So let's say you, on average basis, you are sending, let's say 50, 60 emails a day. If suddenly you're going to send 200 emails a day, and that trigger will come basically through a mail client or a connection, not from the same country as you are normally doing. And for example, there were also some failed logins, etc. Radar will immediately determine that this is a misbehavior, and your account, your email account, has been compromised and is currently being used to spread malware, which, well, not malware necessarily, but to spread spam, right? Because the potential malicious attacker can use the status of your domain, a legitimate sender, legitimate domain, not blocklisted, etc. So we can be very successful into spreading spam or to tricking more people to fall for the trap. So that's exactly the automation which radar will introduce, and which also radar will be able to intercept and stop. All right, so 1 minute left, and yeah, exactly the last slide. So in my session today, we went through basically 4 products from the GFI portfolio, where all 4 products are playing a significant role in the MSP's offering. They're sometimes using all the products, sometimes only 1 or 2 products to provide their offering. We covered the licensing model, how people are using it, how they are deploying it, how they are making money. So in case that you have any questions, just feel free to ask now. And if you will have any questions later on, then myself, Nebojša or Lenka, who is probably also on this call, are more than happy to
help you with answers.
Yeah,
great.
Exactly.
It's a great session and a lot of news from GFI. Really, GFI's direction is great, and a lot of creativity in last year in news. Thank you, Joseph, very much. So far, I see no questions. And maybe I will stop recording at this point.